All right, well, here's an update to the latest Epstein saga. Ghislaine Maxwell, his madam or his girlfriend or his fixer or his Mossad handler, whatever you might think of her, she says she's ready to come forward and tell Congress everything about the Epstein files. That is the latest that has come out. She's not being asked, but she says, I will come out and I will tell Congress absolutely everything about the Epstein files. I want to remind you of one thing she said about Epstein killing himself. She said he absolutely, in her opinion, did not kill himself.
Do you believe that he committed suicide? Because many don't.
No, he didn't. I don't believe he did. I believe that he was murdered.
So she believes that he was murdered. Now, will Ghislaine come to Congress and actually say, yes, there was a huge pedo ring and we have blackmail on every last one of you? I think that the obvious answer is no. Ghislaine Maxwell now is trying to get out of prison. She's serving 20 years for sex trafficking of minors. And now that Donald Trump, the president of the United States, has come out saying there are no Epstein files, it was all a hoax, and you've got the DOJ and the FBI saying, yep, there's nothing to see here. Ghislaine Maxwell is seeing her chance at freedom right now, and she is appealing her conviction. So if she were to come to Congress, what do you think Ghislaine would say? Do you think she'd say, yes, actually, there was a pedo ring? And yes, I was in on it. And yes, I am a Mossad agent, and my father was. And I recruited Epstein because he was a big pervert, and we could make him, we could get him into the social circles with all these other men. And yes, it's all true. That's what happened. And here are all the names. I mean, of course, that is not what's going to happen. She's going to come out and say, yep, you know what? You guys heard it from the DOJ, the FBI, and your own president. There's nothing to see here. This didn't happen. There was no pedo ring. I should not be in prison. That's exactly what will happen there. But let's move on to, because there's nothing. That's Ghislaine Maxwell coming out saying, people are freaking out saying, oh, she says she's going to tell everything. What is she going to tell you? She's going to tell you absolutely nothing. Let's move on to Dan Bongino on this one, because Dan Bongino, the reports are that Dan Bongino is potentially going to be resigning from the FBI as deputy director over this saga. Apparently the saga in particular with Pam Bondi. He's really angry with Pam and apparently her handling of the Epstein situation. Coming out and saying there's files, they're on my desk, to no, we don't really have any, to the fake photo op of all the files, to we don't really have any files, to basically who's Epstein? He killed himself. Oh, but he wasn't even anybody. And now the story is it's a Democrat plot, which I'll get to here in a second. That's what Donald Trump is accusing. But Dan Bongino says that he might be retiring or resigning from the FBI. And I think the reason for this is, the guy has a lot of money to lose on this. You take the job as, for one, he's a massive podcaster. He was a host on Fox News, and he's got a big show and a huge following, and he makes millions upon millions of dollars on his podcast. And one would think, probably accurately, that once you get a job in government, like deputy director of the FBI, when you leave government service, even though he's taken a major pay cut to work for the government, but he still has his empire, he still has people hosting his show, he still has, he's still making his money from the podcast. But one would think that if you were to take a job like that, when you got out, you would make even more money. You'd become even more valuable. People would really trust you because you were once the deputy director of the FBI, so you have a lot of authority. You could say a lot of things. But if people stop trusting you while you're deputy director of the FBI, because the one thing you promised everybody, the one thing that was promised, or several things that were promised just never came to fruition, and instead you helped in covering it up, then you pretty much watch your reputation and your ability to make money go down the drain. So your only real option is to feign being upset and to potentially resign, maybe actually resign. You could claim you're going to resign, but you really maybe need to actually resign in order for there to be some clout, and to say, I wasn't a part of this, I don't agree with this, I'm the truth teller here, don't you worry, you can still trust me. Now, please, audience, please do not flee me the way Ben Shapiro's audience has been fleeing him. Trump says that Dan Bongino is not leaving. He says Dan Bongino seems fine to him.
Oh, I think so. I did. I spoke to him today. Dan Bongino, very good guy. I've known him a long time. I've done his show many, many times. And he sounded terrific, actually. No, I think he's in good shape.
Okay, so he thinks he's not going anywhere. Tucker Carlson says Dan Bongino got screwed essentially by Pam Bondi, and he has a lot to lose. Here it is.
Well, as we're recording this, Dan Bongino is threatening to resign if Pam Bondi does not resign as AG. What does that tell us, in your opinion?
Well, it tells us that Dan Bongino got shafted, completely shafted. And I'm saying this as a friend of his and someone who respects and likes him, but also just as an observer, an informed observer of it. So Pam Bondi, who's, by the way, I don't hate Pam Bondi. She's a totally nice person. If she was here, you would enjoy, I don't know if you know her, but she's a very nice person. I'm not against Pam Bondi in the slightest. But the fact is, she got on television on Fox News and started saying stuff like, I've got the client list on my desk. And actually, no, you don't. And I've got thousands of videos of Epstein having sex with kids. Well, actually, no, you don't. Most of the material was commercial porn taken off his computer. Like, that's just not true. Why did she say that? Probably because she's insecure and she's trying to please the audience, I would expect.
Do you think Dan is upset because his integrity is being questioned now over her mistakes?
Oh, my gosh. So you're Dan and you're a media figure and you've got one of the biggest podcasts in the country and you're making tons of money and you're having a great time, which he was. You just built this brand new studio in Florida. You work with your wife, who you really like, which she does. And you get the call saying you'd be deputy FBI director. And you're like, I love Donald Trump. I love this country. I will, cut my pay by, into a tenth of what it was. And I will leave my house and move to D.C., which is a kind of prison sentence itself. And I will do this because I love the president. I love the country. And you're there a few months. And all of a sudden, everybody thinks you're covering up Epstein's crimes. And it kind of wrecks Dan's career. Like, he can't go back. It's going to be very hard at this point. I mean, things may change, but as of today, pretty hard for Dan to go back to his podcast audience and be like, I'm telling you the truth, when they all think that he's covering up for Epstein. Who did that? Pam Bondi did that. And I don't know that she did it on purpose. I'm assuming not. I don't think she's a mean person. I've never gotten that sense. But for whatever reason, she went out there and said things that were not true, that she could not back up. And then they issued this memo thinking that it would clear everything up.
That was embarrassing.
And I guess they're just so dumb, they didn't realize that if you tell everybody you have the tapes of these crimes and then you issue a memo saying you're not going to prosecute anybody for the crimes, what are you saying? I'm covering up for the perpetrators of these crimes.
Okay. So I don't agree with Tucker on this one, that this is Pam Bondi's fault. I think Bongino has dug his own grave in a lot of ways. We all have seen the video of Dan Bongino saying he loves Israel. His passion is Israel and the defense of Israel. We've all seen that. And we also saw Dan Bongino go around saying Epstein killed himself, that he's seen the tapes. He's got the evidence now. Epstein killed himself. This is him talking about it.
There is more coming on the Epstein files. Listen, I know this is a hot potato for folks. I totally understand. My comments were clear. I'm not paid for my opinions anymore. I work for the taxpayer now. I'm paid on evidence. That's it. The evidence we have in our files clearly indicates that it was, in fact, a suicide. We do have video. It's not the greatest video in the world. I don't want to set expectations on fire. However, the video does show in that specific block that he goes in, made a phone call. You'll see 12 hours of guards going to basically check on him, come back. You'll see no one really comes out in that bay, in that area, than him. There's no one in there.
They edited the files. It has now been shown that the footage that they gave us, that Dan Bongino was here talking about, was in fact edited, that they cut a minute out of it. It was edited in Premiere Pro. That has been shown. And here's Dan lying about it. I mean, or covering it up or whatever. I mean, he's losing his credibility.
When you combine that with the other evidence we will be releasing in the coming weeks, we're still finalizing some of the products. I think it's pretty clear. However, as I've clearly indicated in some of my tweets on my official account, listen, investigations, if new information surfaces in the future on any of these cases, we're always open. I'm just telling you, there's nothing there in the file at all that indicates anything other than, in fact, a suicide.
Yeah, I just don't think Dan recovers from this. I mean, I think he recovers about as well as Ben Shapiro. I think he shares audience with Ben Shapiro in the end, and that's kind of where he's at. And the GOP base moves on in a different direction. And they continue to embrace Tucker Carlson. His podcast shot up to number 2 after he made the comments at Turning Point USA. And I think Dan Bongino and all of these people who are sitting there now, and even Donald Trump covering for Epstein, say there are no files. Get that out of your head. Essentially, what are you people thinking of this Democrat conspiracy theory? yeah, I don't think they survive this that well. I just don't think that they do. Here's Kash Patel. I just want to show you a reminder of what Kash Patel once said about who had the files, who had the tapes.
Who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI.
But who? That is I mean, there's.
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville school shooting of the Catholic schools.
Yeah, okay, well, guess what? You're now the director of the FBI. So you were saying before you were director that the director had all of this, and now you're the director. And the letter that came out from the FBI, from the DOJ, from them together collaborating and saying, there's nothing to see here, folks. Move along. And I'm sure they're getting that at the behest of the president. Donald Trump wants everybody to move along. This is what Donald Trump said in a large post. He says, what is going on with my boys, and in some cases girls? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's doing a fantastic job. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein, over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration who conned the world with the Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, and more? They created the Epstein files, just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me. And now my so-called friends are playing right into their hands. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files if there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement? Why didn't they use it? Yeah, because the Epstein files didn't only have you, Donald Trump, or people in the GOP, but it also has Democrats, a lot of powerful people. Remember Bill Clinton and the Lolita Express? How many times was he on it? So here he is trying to claim that Democrats made this. He's gaslighting people. He's trying to figure out a way, what is going to be the button. And this is the first time, I think, that I've actually seen Donald Trump unable to figure out what makes people tick. Because that's what he's trying to do here by saying, this was Hillary Clinton. This was Clinton and Obama and all of them, and they're doing this hoax. He's trying to tap into a sentiment in the base that gets them to go, oh, yeah, okay, you're right. I'm not going to fall for that. Screw the whole Epstein thing. That's a hoax. That's a hoax. But that's not going to work this time around. So he's kind of floundering, trying to figure out what is going to be the button to push to get people to stop talking about the Epstein files and to stop bringing up the fact that the administration promised that we were going to be getting all of this and that there was going to be some accountability, and we're not getting any of that. So this is the first time I've really seen Trump kind of flounder, and he's, in my opinion, he's a genius when it comes to gaining an audience and saying the right things. And this is the one time when it comes to Epstein that he is not behaving like an audience maestro. He says they haven't even given up on JFK or Martin Luther King Jr. files, no matter how much success we've had securing the border, deporting criminals, fixing the economy, energy dominance, a safer world where Iran will not have nuclear weapons. It's never enough for some people. We're about to achieve more in 6 months than any other administration has achieved in over 100 years, and we have so much more to do. We are saving our country and making America great again, which will continue to be our complete priority. The left is imploding. Kash Patel and the FBI must be focused on investigating voter fraud, political corruption, Act Blue, the rigged and stolen election of 2020, and arresting thugs and criminals instead of spending month after month looking at nothing but the same old radical left-inspired documents on Jeffrey Epstein. Let Pam Bondi do her job. She's great. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and they've tried to do the same thing in 2024. That's what she's looking into as AG and much more. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Again, Trump not reading the room. And this is the first time I've really seen him not read the room. Well, in regards to Thomas Massie, he also wasn't reading the room. But he's going after Thomas Massie, many of us suspect, because Thomas Massie took on the Israel lobby in AIPAC and also challenges, Thomas Massie's been challenging large budgets forever. That's nothing new. And so what is it about Thomas Massie now that suddenly triggers Trump to create a big super PAC against him and and campaign against the guy. And the one thing that many of us are looking at as well, Thomas Massie took a stand against Israel and AIPAC, and he won. He beat them. And so now they're trying to take out the big guns and get Trump to go after him. But this is, Trump saying to everybody, get over it, move along. Look at this. This is, why are you saying this, Trump? Are you saying this because you used to party with Epstein? You're in the files. You don't want anybody to know about it. That's what Elon Musk asserted, that Trump was in the files. But look at this. Back in the day, Trump partying with Epstein. And even you'll notice in the tape, he points to a woman. And then he says to Jeffrey Epstein, she's hot. And then he whispers something in Jeffrey's ear that made Jeffrey absolutely stunned. Okay, so here it is. She's hot, he said. So Trump partying with Epstein, is he potentially in the tapes? Epstein's former attorney, he actually says that this was put out there. Trump retweeted this, like as if this proves anything, but look at this. Trump retweeted, this is David Schoen. I was hired to lead Jeffrey Epstein's defense as his criminal lawyer 9 days before he died. He sought my advice for months before that. I can say authoritatively, unequivocally, and definitively that he had no information to hurt President Trump. I specifically asked him. Oh, really? And we're supposed to believe that. Why would Epstein suddenly come out and say, yeah, I've got a bunch of dirt on the U.S. president who's going to give Israel everything they've ever wanted? Why would he admit that? Why would he say, yes, I actually have this man on tape doing all these terrible things. I've been blackmailing him forever into doing things for the state of Israel. And guess what? He is. He would, of course, they have the guy. They have the main guy Trump has been doing everything Israel wants. He's been allowing them to take all the land. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He has been doing more. He is definitively, without a doubt, the single most pro-Israel president the United States has ever had. And we have him on tape partying with Epstein, pointing out women, saying she's hot, making Jeffrey Epstein, who's done loads of unspeakable deeds, keel over in shock. And you've got women why would Epstein or Mossad or any of them admit to Donald Trump being in the tapes? They're getting what they want from him. And now it's all being covered up, which is also what they want. They want Americans to stop talking about it. And now you've got Donald Trump doing again the bidding for Israel, trying to get us to move along. He's trying to say it's some Democrat hoax, even though Bill Clinton was much more implicated than he was in the files. So, this is, people are not going to drop this. They're not going to drop the Epstein files. The GOP base, they're not going to go along with this. Okay, yeah, nothing to see here. It's a conspiracy theory made up by the Democrats. And Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Donald Trump, they're all, unfortunately, now completely tainted by this. And I don't know how Dan Bongino recovers from this. I just don't think he's going to recover. But certainly, I don't think Donald Trump recovers from this either. I think that his base is feeling extremely betrayed. They thought they were going to get a president that was going to give the truth, and he's not. He's covering up for Epstein, and he's doing the bidding of Israel, and we're not getting anything America first at all. Blowing up Iran's nuclear infrastructure was not for America. That was for Israel. Killing the Palestinians in genocide is not for America. That is for Israel. Allowing Israel to annex all kinds of land, saying that you're going to rebuild Gaza into some sort of Mediterranean paradise, that is not for the United States. That is for Israel. Everything has been for Israel. And Americans have caught on to this. And they are now, especially the base has proven themselves to not just be a bunch of sycophant loyalists. They're instead criticizing the president, they're criticizing Dan Bongino, they're criticizing Kash Patel, and they're criticizing Pam Bondi, and all of it very, very much deserved. Hey guys, thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show, which you could check out Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. See you there.